There's nothing like your car. Sure, some are fancier, but yours is yours. The seats adjusted just the way you like it. The aircon set perfectly. At Hertz, we can't provide your car, but we can provide a great range, convenient locations and smooth service, plus 15% off the base rate for AA members. Think of Hertz as your car away from car. Visit hertz.co.nz/AA and book now. T's and C's apply.
You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Not smart, but there is a lot of other sport going on, including the world's richest horse race, a prize pool of 20 million Australian dollars. The Everest, over 1,200 metres, jumps at 6:15 this evening, New Zealand time, at Randwick in Sydney. New Zealand Herald racing editor Mick Guerin joins us from Randwick. Mick, thanks for your time as always. First of all, this is a slot race. Can you just explain that concept to us?
Yeah, hi Piney, big hi to all your listeners, and good luck to Auckland FC with their first game today. It's a great thing for the city and great for footy in the country. A slot race means that basically people can buy a slot. That is the right to race a horse. Now, a human could buy it. Often it's a corporation because these slots are very expensive. They're $600,000 and there's only 12 of them. So anybody can go out and buy one, and then you say, I have a slot, so I need to find a horse. Now, you may have your own horse, in which case you race, or, for example, you and I buy a slot together, and then we think we want to get Jolie Star. So we negotiate with the owners of Jolie Star and say the top prize, the first prize today is $7 million. Because we paid for the slot, because obviously it hasn't cost the owners of the horse anything, you say, we might go 50-50. Well, if you've got a really good horse, we might go 60-40. So that's $7 million, which is the first prize. The trainers and jockeys percentage comes out, so it takes it down to 6. If we're 50-50, you get $3 million, as in we do, as the slot holders, and they get $3 million. Now, most of the big corporations who are involved in this can actually use it as tax deductibility as a marketing expense. So the actual 600 won't cost them 600, much marketing expenses. But there's still negotiations to be done, and you've still got to find a horse. And if you find a horse 3 months ago and it loses form, you might have to go find another horse. So there's a whole array of politics and interesting machinations around the entire thing, and people who want to work with each other and don't want to work with each other, and how it aligns with their brand. It's really fascinating. It's part election, part NRL, AFL draft type thing, and part horse race. And then once all of that's happened, Piney, then we get to 6:15 tonight. The horses don't care. They get in the barriers, and inside 68 seconds, they divvy up $20 million. So it's one of the world's richest sporting events, but also one of the world's quickest.
Yeah, indeed. So quick. Now, I read your piece this morning in the Herald, and you pointed out that the Everest was set up to showcase Australian sprinting prowess, but there are a couple of Kiwi horses who are probably favourite, Mick.
Yeah, well, they are the favourite. So there's 2 New Zealand-owned horses in the race. I Wish I Win, which races in the TAB slot, and they have an enormous array of promotions around him. And then there's a horse called Jolie Star, who's owned by Cambridge stud Brendan and Joe Lindsay, who didn't race that many horses 10 years ago. Brendan Lindsay, famous for setting up and then selling Systema, the plastics business, for $606 million. He bought Cambridge stud off the now late Sir Patrick Hogan and has tipped an enormous amount of money into rebuilding it. Now, this will be a huge coup for the New Zealand industry, because if I Wish I Win wins, his father, Savabeel, the stallion, stands in Waikato. If Jolie Star wins, she'll return home to New Zealand to become a broodmare as one of the most valuable horses on earth, female horses anyway. So New Zealand horses are basically bred more to win 1,600 to 2,400 or 3,200, that being the Melbourne Cup distances. The European horses are bred for 24 to 32, but the Australians are speed mad. They love fast, quick horses who run at 2 and 3. So for us to be first and second favourites to win a race set up for Australian horses would almost be a little bit like, imagine the NRL World Cup for soccer, for league. So the League World Cup, it'd be like the Kiwis playing Tonga in the final and all the Australians and the kangaroo supporters having to watch. That's what it'll be like if we manage to pull this off today at Randwick.
How strong is the competition, Mick? Who are the big threats to our two Kiwi horses?
Well, you're talking about big boys here. But the people involved in this stuff make the people who run the America's Cup look like they work in a store. Like, you've got Godolphin, who are the Arabs who not only own most of the oil wells in Dubai, but also Emirates. They own the airline. So they're serious people. Then you've got Cormor, who are the world leaders in horse racing, who were set up on the back of Magna's breweries. And again, they're talking, you're getting involved with the billionaires. And then you've got a guy called Mr. Zhang from China, who owns Yulong. And he has been buying horses like Imperatriz, the New Zealand horse he paid $6.6 million for this year. He'll buy horses for $1 million on a whim. These are serious players, and the money involved is astronomical. So not only, I know some people think, well, that doesn't affect me. It's not just about them. There's other horses in the race who are owned by syndicates. One of the horses is owned by a syndicate which has a childcare worker involved. Just some normal lady who's enjoying her life, had a couple of percentage points on a horse, and now she's going head-to-head with Sheikh Mohammed, who owns Godolphin. And they're all in their boxes today. Each horse and slot gets a box, and the horses don't know who own them. That's the majesty of racing, is once you've got the horse, no matter how much money you've spent on it, they don't know. This race could be won by a horse who costs $10 million, or it could be won by a horse who cost $100,000. So the horses the Kiwis have to beat, I think the 3-year-olds are the big danger, and they are owned by the superpowers. Storm Boy, owned by Cormor, Traffic Warden, owned by Godolphin, and the horse I like each way in the race, Growing Empire, owned by Yulong, which is out of China. So the New Zealanders are up against it, but at this stage, about 5 hours out from the race, or 4 hours out from the race, they are the favourites. The weather's good in Sydney, and the track is a soft 5 Piney, so that means it's pretty much perfect. No one will be disadvantaged or advantaged either way.
Now, the TAB is also giving punters here a chance to win $10 million if we can pick the correct finishing order of all 12 runners. Now, that sounds difficult, Mick, but I think last year somebody did.
Yeah, a dude from Auckland got it. Remarkable. So it's free. Basically, if you're a TAB customer, it's free. If you're a TAB customer, you can log on to your website. You don't have to put any money in. You can open a TAB account with $2. This is not just about gambling, and if you don't feel like gambling, don't gamble. But you can enter this competition for free. It's like a free lotto ticket. And you probably won't win, but it's good fun. I've entered, and I can win. I do some work for the TAB, but Piney, you can enter. Anybody listening to this can enter. Just go to tab.co.nz, and you've got to pick all 12 horses in the correct finishing order. If you don't know anything, look, go in favouritism order. Go in your favourite colours. It really doesn't matter. It's a free lotto ticket. As I said, somebody pulled it off last year, and an Auckland man got $10 million tax-free, Piney. So, ironically, he won more money than all those people we're talking about who actually had a horse in the race.
Incredible. If I was going to do it then, Mick, I'd go I Wish I Win and Jolly Star 1 and 2. So I'd have that for starters. Would I be on the right track?
Look, the market, that's the dividends for the horses suggest you would be. I like Growing Empire. I've backed him. It's one of those things, with gambling, not everybody should gamble. If you have no disposable income and you and the family are doing things tough, then don't gamble. But if you've got $20, which is what it costs you to go to the movies, and you want to have a bit of fun this afternoon, what would I do? Well, you're already going to be riding the Kiwis, I Wish I Win and Jolly Star, because you're a New Zealander, and you want them to win, because it's a big deal. So what I'd do is back Growing Empire. He's $8. Put your $10 each way on it, and again, bet responsibly, but if you've got that sort of coin in your pocket, it's not a disaster. It rolls home and wins, you turn 20 into 100, and all of a sudden you're not going to the movies tonight, maybe you're going out for dinner. That's what I would do, Piney. It's a very even race. By no means an easy race to pick, but I can't overestimate to you how difficult it is to get a horse into this race. Like, you are really playing with the world leaders. So to have 2 New Zealand horses not only in the race, but to be favoured, and knowing that could have future impact on our breeding, as I said, to explain it to people who are listening to this who don't care about racing, It's a little bit like if we had two guys who played in the EPL. We'll keep the soccer thing for today. If we had two kids from New Zealand who ended up playing in the EPL and then they ended up in the Champions League. You're up against the best in the world. I realise soccer is by far a far bigger thing than horse racing. But the chances of doing it are that difficult because there are so many horses bred, and any horse in the world is eligible for this race. Horses have come from overseas for it before. So that's how hard it is to get here. Then, Piney, you've got to win.
You've painted a brilliant picture for us, Mick. What sort of crowd will they get at Randwick today?
Sold out. 46,000 people, that's all they are actually allowed to have because of the logistics of the place and how many bathrooms they need and how many security staff and all that need. Sold out 3 days before. Now, when you think about sport in Australia, there's only about 3 sports that ever sell out. Rugby no longer sells out. Not really. Maybe the All Black Test might, but only if the All Blacks are playing the Wallabies. Obviously, NRL can sell out a final. They didn't sell out their recent final because of the makeup of the two teams not being Sydney-based teams. Soccer can sell out, clearly, particularly when you play in Melbourne or Sydney FC. They can sell out a big event. And obviously, AFL can sell out something. But obviously, they usually play their biggest games at the G. It's incredibly hard in Australia to sell out a sporting event because there's so much sport on here. So in Sydney, to sell out 3 days beforehand for 46,000 tickets. And racing's a vastly different animal from other days. You can go to an NRL final in your jeans and your boots. You don't need to prepare. It's a lot goes into racing today. The amount of money this day would pour into the Sydney economy is staggering, just through people who buying suits and buying stuff and going out for dinners and breakfast and staying in hotels. Every economic study you see about major race meetings, and we're about to have one in Christchurch for the carnival down there, they have significantly more impact on the city economically than an All Blacks test. Because not only do more people travel for it, Piney, but they stay for longer and they spend more money when they're there. And that's why these huge cities like Melbourne and Sydney have these huge carnivals, because the money goes back into them, and that's one of the key things. Anybody who works in Christchurch hospitality will tell you the biggest week of the year is Cup Week in Christchurch, and that's the same for many, many towns and cities around New Zealand and Australia. So horse racing is not everybody's cup of tea, Piney. I absolutely get that and respect it, but it is undeniably a huge economic driver for that type of stuff, even in a place as big as Sydney.
Mick, great to get the chance to chat to you. Thanks for painting such a vivid picture for us. All the best this afternoon. Catch up again soon. Thanks for taking our call.
Piney, we appreciate the chat, mate, and as I said, congratulations to Auckland FC and everybody involved. It is no small undertaking. I hope everybody enjoys the first game.
Top man, Mick. Thanks indeed. That's New Zealand Herald racing editor Mick Guerin, absolute authority on horse racing with some very sensible messaging there as well. The Everest, it jumps at 6:15 this evening, New Zealand time at Randwick in Sydney. I wish I win. One of the favourites, the other Kiwi horse, Jolly Star. A couple of Kiwi horses up against some of the fastest in Australia. What did Mick say? 68 seconds? Incredible stuff.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.
Hi, I'm Ryan Bridge, and I'm excited to host a new podcast called Bridge Talks Business with Milford, where I'll be talking about, well, business, obviously. Every week, I'll be joined by one of Milford's team of analysts, fund managers, and financial experts to cover key business events. It'll be your go-to for insights on the markets, business, and the economy, both here and overseas, as we dig a little deeper into the business week. Join me for Bridge Talks Business with Milford. Subscribe on iHeart or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. All discussions are informational only and should not be considered financial advice.